Part 1. The Hashira who could have changed everything. Tanjiro Kamido's first encounter with Giyu Tomioka was one of fate's greatest gifts. Without him, the entire story of Demon Slayer might have unfolded in a completely different way. But what if it wasn't Giyu who found Tanjiro and Nezuko in that snowy forest? What if a different Hashira had arrived that day? Let's start with the worst-case scenario. The wind Hashira, Sanemi Shinazugawa. On paper, you might think Sanemi would understand Tanjiro's situation. After all, he once faced his own family member who became a demon. But that trauma is exactly why he wouldn't. The sight of Nezuko lunging at her brother would instantly trigger his past. His emotions would take over before reason could step in. Sanemi would cut her down instantly. No hesitation, no mercy. Tanjiro's desperate pleas wouldn't even reach him. By the time the snow settled, Nezuko's head would already lie in the snow, and Sanemi would leave without a word. Tanjiro, broken beyond repair, would never join the Demon Slayer Corps. His journey would end there, as a hollow shell wandering the mountains, haunted by what could have been. Now, let's imagine a softer hand. The insect Hashira, Shinobu Kocho. Her approach is lethal but merciful. Instead of decapitation, she uses poison. Nezuko might collapse, paralyzed but alive. Shinobu, always the listener, would let Tanjiro explain himself. Seeing his devotion, she'd take the siblings to Kagaya Ubuyashiki for judgment instead of killing Nezuko outright. Moved by curiosity and hope, Kagaya would allow them to stay together. Tanjiro's training would then begin under Shinobu at the butterfly estate. But there's a problem. Flower and insect breathing don't match his instincts. His body rejects the delicate patterns, forcing him to seek a new mentor, someone stronger. And that leads us to the next possibility, the stone Hashira himself. Part 2. The Path of Stone and Flame. Gyomei Himejima, the strongest of the Hashira, is a man of deep faith and quiet sorrow. If he were the one to find the Kamido siblings, things might go very differently. Gyomei would sense Tanjiro's pain, but would not trust Nezuko's humanity. His compassion wouldn't outweigh his discipline. One swing of his chained flail and axe, and Nezuko's life would end instantly. But unlike Sanemi, Gyomei wouldn't walk away coldly. He'd kneel beside Tanjiro and explain that allowing Nezuko to live would have condemned her to endless suffering. His words would redirect Tanjiro's grief toward purpose, vengeance, not despair. In this timeline, Tanjiro trains under Gyomei himself, learning to channel pain into strength. His fighting style becomes a blend of endurance and precision, ruthless against demons, yet grounded in empathy. Now, what if the one to find the siblings wasn't bound by faith, but by flashiness? Enter Tenjin Yuzui, the sound Hashira. Tengen's reaction would be unpredictable. He'd see the demon girl and human boy, and decide whether that's flashy enough to keep alive. If Tanjiro's conviction impressed him, Tenjin might spare Nezuko out of curiosity. He'd train them both, turning Nezuko into a living experiment and Tanjiro into a swordsman obsessed with rhythm and performance. But Tanjiro's sharp sense of smell would clash with Tengen's sound-based breathing. Their partnership would burn bright and fade fast. So, who could truly balance Tanjiro's passion with discipline? Only one name fits, Kyojuro Rengoku, the Flame Hashira. Part 3. Paths of Fire, Mist, and Love. If Rengoku were the first to arrive at the Kamido home, things could have been very different and surprisingly hopeful. Though he was among those who supported killing Nezuko at the Hashira meeting, Rengoku also had an open heart. If Tanjiro's conviction burned bright enough, Rengoku might hesitate. He'd test Nezuko's restraint the same way Sanemi did later, tempting her with blood, but watching closely. When she resisted, Rengoku's eyes would light up. Fascinated by her willpower, he'd take the siblings under his protection. Tanjiro would learn flame breathing directly from him, unlocking a style far more compatible with his fiery spirit than water breathing ever was. Together, they'd become a duo of flame and faith, a master and student blazing through the darkness. But what if, instead, fate sent someone detached, the Mist Hashira, Muichiro Takedo? Cold and emotionless, Muichiro wouldn't kill Nezuko out of rage, but out of duty. One clean strike, no hesitation, and by the next sunrise, he'd have already forgotten their names. Tanjiro might still join the Corps under him, but without emotional guidance, his heart would wither. He'd become an efficient killer, not a hero. Finally, imagine if the love Hashira, Mitsuri Kanroji, arrived instead. She'd burst into tears at the sight of the tragedy, unable to kill Nezuko. Her empathy would save the siblings, but her indecision would send them straight to Ubuyashiki for judgment. If Tanjiro trained under Mitsuri, he'd learn love breathing, emotional, fluid, and instinctive. Yet it wouldn't fit his nature. Still, her warmth would keep his humanity alive, giving the story one of its gentlest paths. And then, there's the darkest possibility. The serpent Hashira, Abanai Iguro. Traumatized by his past with demons, he'd slaughter Nezuko without hesitation and lecture Tanjiro about weakness. Under his mentorship, Tanjiro would grow strong, but cold, merciless, and joyless. So, which Hashira's path would you choose? Would you want Tanjiro's story to burn brighter, or end in the snow before it ever began?